on the second to last page of the Maimer. It's
recording
page
in progress.
5. We are on the middle of the page. We were connecting this parsha with what we spoke about before, about Lifnei Havaya Titharu. Beforehand, we were talking about Lifnei Havaya Titharu, means that through tshuva, we reach a level that's higher than Shem Yudke Vavke. We reach all the way into the level of Hashem's essence. That is the level of Tahayrahi, before the level of Ata Barasa, higher than it was even the Shem Havaya, because Shem Havaya has to do with Esabbas, with the world coming into being. And we spoke about that even though before it came down here, it was also part of Hashem's essence. So what's the difference between then and now? What happened different with our avodah now? So one thing is, the difference is that we are doing it down here in this world, whereas our connection with Hashem's essence before was in the way it was in Oil Misal Yonim. Now it's in this world. We are returning to Mekoida v'Sharsha v'Ruach Tashva Kimashen Asana. That's one nekuda. Another inyan is that it affects the body down here below. That's also affected by it, and this is all part of the idea that Dirla is Baruch B'Tachtoinim, because we're making a home for Hashem down here below. That is why we are affecting in this type of way that even down here in this world, the neshama is connected with Mekoida v'Sharsha, returns to Mekoida v'Sharsha as it was before it came down here. So now the Rebbe is connecting it with our parsha, with the second parsha of the week, with Parshas Kedoshim, that talks about the Dinei Arlo. And the Rebbe asked about the progression. The first 3 years, that's like Sur Marah. You can't eat any of the fruit of the trees. The 4th year, that's Kodesh Elulim Lashem, you need to bring it to Yerushalayim to eat. That is like the level of Asay Toiv. So how is that followed by the 5th year, which seems to be ordinary, weekday, mundane food that we're eating it just regularly in our homes? Seemingly, that's not following the progression. First, we're going Sumarad and Asay Toiv, then just ordinary life. No mitzvah. Asay Toiv, we said, is like eating on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Whereas the weekdays, which is the majority of the time that we're eating, it's seemingly of no important significance. That was the question we left off yesterday on the 5th page, page test, in the middle of the page. So we're going to continue on line 16 to the answer. The idea behind this, the explanation about the significance of the 5th year and on, that's considered an ascent and a progress beyond the Surmera of the 3 years, beyond the Asay Tov of the 4th year. How is the ordinary eating of the rest of the time to this tree considered progress and a higher level? So the advantage of the 5th year and really and on is it's a much higher avodah. That it has the capability to refine also the physical things, meaning the way it is in my world, and not I have to bring it to Yerushalayim, or not like the first 3 years that I can't eat it at all, which means that the physical is completely off the radar. But we don't have to bring it to Yerushalayim. At home, eating the fruit, for lunch, I'm already being mevared, similar to what we said about the connection of the neshama with its root and its source above is here while being in the guf, and that connection is in the body and connected with the body. So he says that that it has the capability to be mevared even the physical things. That in all your ways you will know him by eating this fruit. You are able to attain a level of knowledge of Hashem, even though it's your ways, it's a physical thing, just eating fruit for no seemingly mitzvah reason. Even more so, kol masechel l'shem shamayim, that even a lower form, you could still infuse it with elikus. Also, while it is your actions, even when it's lacking the idea that you are knowing him, and therefore it's only your actions, and it's removed from knowing Hashem in your actions, yet still in all it's being used towards a different thing. Hareihim l'shem shamayim, they are for the sake of heaven. So that is the advantage of the fifth year and on, that even though they're physical, even though they're on this world and limited and so on, in that we have the connection still with a higher level even than the Sur Meran Asay Toiv of the previous years. And this is similar to what we said before about the Lifnei Havaya Titahru that is accomplished when the Neshama is down here, Val Derech Hanal, similar to what we said in the previous part of the Maimer, Shepoil Gam Ala Guf, Lias Gufei Tofel V'Nafshi Iker, that he affects also the body, that the body should be ancillary and the soul should be primary, which is actually connected also with today's Chitas, because the Alter Rebbe in Tanya in Perek Lamed Beis, when he explains how is it possible to be V'Ahavta Re'acha Kamoicha, which we say in today's Chitas, and it's also part of Parshas Kedoshim. How is that possible? That's only possible if the body is secondary and the soul is primary. So this is all part of the same message of Lifnei Havaya Titahru in this world, and the idea of the fruits of the fifth year is what's holy, and or is a higher level even than the holiness of the fourth or the prohibition of the third year. Now the Rebbe is going to conclude with the brachas, line 24. V'yiratzon should be the will of Hashem, sh'ayidei adibur binyanim elu, through speaking about these matters. Nove l'kiyum mitzvahs hatluyos barzo poel, will come to actually fulfilling the mitzvahs that are dependent on Eretz Yisrael in actuality. Shezeh yeh l'asad lovi, this will be in the future times when Mashiach comes. Ubetachos hashleimus, and the agricultural mitzvahs will be in the utmost perfection. She'az yiu kol yeshvei Allah, because only then, when Mashiach comes, all its inhabitants will be settled upon it. V'zeh lo yehoya gam b'zman bayis sheni. This does not take place in the time of the second Beis HaMikdash. This has to do specifically with the mitzvahs of Yovel. Yovel is only noyeg. The Chazal derived from the pasuk only asher kol yeshvei Allah. That means when all the shvatim are in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, it was not something that was able to be fulfilled in the second Beis HaMikdash, where we only had the shvatim of Yehuda and Binyamin, part of Levi, and other scattered shvatim, but not the full populace. And the Rebbe adds also parenthetically, even in the times of the first Beis HaMikdash, if the halach is having to do what Kol Yeshvei Allah had to do in the times of the first Beis HaMikdash, after the Aseres HaShvatim went into exile, it's if they could have the dinim of the Yovel be noyeg, since there wasn't, the majority of the Shvatim weren't there. So that's why only when Mashiach comes will we return to the full state of fulfilling the agricultural mitzvahs, and loss of love, as opposed to in the future times. Then all of its inhabitants will be settled upon it. And the Rebbe says, from speaking about it, it should come. This is even more so when we speak about it. We're not just talking about the halachas the way they are in Chumash and Gemara and halacha, but we're talking about it how it is in Pnimis HaTorah. That the idea of the Pnimis HaTorah is part of the goal, the purpose of spreading the well springs outward. That's why the Maimer of the Torah is in Parshas Achrei. There's also explanation from this in the Tzemach Tzedek, and lately there's also printed an explanation of the Mittler Rebbe upon this. It's also connected with Lag BaOmer, that idea is the revelation of Pnimis HaTorah. In other words, that this is all about the idea of the coming to Mashiach's times through the Pegilui Pnimis HaTorah. So he says, what's the idea of Lag BaOmer's connection with Pnimis HaTorah? Shalachein gam hasimcha shebezei simcha gluya. Therefore, the joy involving Lag BaOmer is a revealed joy that we celebrate openly without any reason to be sad. That's a difference between the date of the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is on Zayin Adar, to Lag BaOmer. Then the 7th of Adar was initially the opposite. That Haman thought that because it was the date of passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, therefore it should be considered something that is negative for the Jewish people. And it's a time when the Jewish people are susceptible to decrees. And only only afterwards it became joy. At the date of the Moshe Rabbeinu's birthday transformed it and made it eventually it should be a joyous day. And the truth is, the Rebbe points out that l'halach it's brought down Shulchan Aruch that there is a custom of fasting on Zayin Adar even now. So that means that Zayin Adar never really reached the level of simcha like Lag BaOmer. Mashenk Lag BaOmer hayagam mitchila inyan shel simcha gluya, as opposed to Lag BaOmer was initially also a revealed joy. It didn't start off as being something sad and then joyous. And the Rebbe explains this in many places because Lag BaOmer is the idea of Pnimis HaTorah. Since it's Pnimis HaTorah, it reveals the true meaning and the true idea of everything. So therefore, even things that are externally negative are revealed to be positive and good. So therefore, in the time of the passing of Rab Shimon ben Yochai, that's the one that revealed Pnimis HaTorah. So his passing is a day of joy, not a day of chas v'sholom, negative and sadness. In addition to the significance of Lag BaOmer being connected with Parshas Achrei Shel Lag BaOmer, or this whole topic that we're talking about, Shel Lag BaOmer b'Sfiras Hoid Shabbahot. The sphere of Hoid Shabbahot is on Lag BaOmer. V'Shvuah Chamishi Shel Sfiras Omer. Therefore, it's the 5th sphere of Sfiras, the 5th week of Sfiras Omer. That's Hoid, is the 5th sphere. Bechinas Achi Tachten, it's called the lowest level because it's already leaving the body. We said the trunk is the level of Chagas, Chesed, Gbur, Tiferes. Netzach and Hoid is already going outside the trunk. You're completing the 2 legs. Everything else is already external. Yesoid and Malchus. In other words, it's as if the whole avoid of Sfiras Omer is done when you reach Hoid Shabbahot. Also, Chassidus explains that Dafke, the lowest levels of Netzach v'Hoid, tap into the most highest levels, even those levels are higher than the level of that's what above, which therefore also reaches a type of simcha which is unlimited. Simcha, a joy that's beyond all measure and boundary. Through that we come to the true and complete redemption, and the everlasting joy is upon their heads.